What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So this week at E3, Naughty Dog lead designer Kurt Maganow talked a bit to GameSpot and confirmed that Uncharted 4's single player will be running at 30 frames per second while they are still targeting 60 frames for the multiplayer. That does not in any way mean that it's confirmed that it's going to be 60 frames for multiplayer, but that's still something they have planned and they hope to be able to achieve within time. Now to this, my reaction is I think this is absolutely fine, and pretty much if they could achieve 60 frames in multiplayer, I'd find that great. Here's the thing, people have to realize that 60 frames always has been a choice. We've seen games on the PlayStation 1, the PS2, the PS3, and right now again with the PS4 that can achieve 60 frames. It does not in any way mean that Naughty Dog has to try and achieve that certain frame rate for the game. It's also in a way about, making your graphics seem a little bit less impressive so that you can therefore also be able to achieve 60 frames for your game. I am sure that if Naughty Dog, made the texture quality a lot worse, decreased the lighting effects, the effects in general, like the little particles and stuff, they could manage to get this game running at 60 frames in the single player as well. But, we all know from Naughty Dog that they try to set bars in terms of console games, and the harsh reality is pretty much that you can't have a game out there that sets a bar visually wise that is gonna look super impressive compared to anything else coming out on the PlayStation 4 that is then also running at 60 frames. That is almost impossible, and we all say that Naughty Dog are gods in terms of technological stuff, but these are simply limits, these are simply bars that you cannot manage to achieve. You just can't do both. That's basically the thing, right? And I think the great thing about single player is that yes, single player is an experience. It's something where you want to be blown away by graphics, by amazing set pieces, and you don't really care about the frame rate too much there, right? Frame rate is only really going to be a cool thing in terms of trying to be more precise and having accurate responses to what's happening on the screen, and in a single player level against AI enemies, that's not really going to be too important. For the multiplayer though, if they do decrease the graphics there so that the multiplayer doesn't look that amazing but still runs super smoothly at 60 frames, so you can be more precise and stuff, and it's just gonna run a lot more smooth. I think that's awesome if they could be able to manage to get multiplayer running at 60 frames per second. And that's basically my thoughts on the whole thing. Once again, I'm sure Naughty Dog could have made this game in the single player 60 frames as well, but you would just see that the game would not look as impressive visually wise. And looking at, for example, the E3 demo that we saw with Nate and Sully, going through this town in their car and stuff, and everything got torn apart. You saw civilians running everywhere and reacting to what was happening at that specific moment. Yeah, it was just very, very impressive in terms of the technology and in terms of everything going on at the screen at one specific point. So, I want them to be able to maintain that while at the same time making the game look so great. And then 30 frames, I'll totally accept it, and play the game at that while I can still play my Uncharted Remastered collection at 60 frames, and hopefully also Uncharted 4 multiplayer at 60 frames where I can, hopefully tear some people apart, yeah, in an awesome frame rate at the same time. So, yeah, one final thing I could maybe quickly bring up is that it would be awesome if Naughty Dog did eventually release the second demo for, or pretty much the second half of the demo from E3, because I've heard some really good things now from people who were at E3 and have seen the second part of the demo. Apparently it's even more impressive than what was going on at the, the 5-minute demo that we actually saw at E3. So, yeah, Sony has already kind of slightly teased it in that trailer with Nate sliding through the mud and all these things happening at the same time. He was held by a rope while chasing this car, and he's once again, jumping from car to car, taking down enemies at the same time. Man, I really want to see what they have done here. I hope they're still going to release it. So you should probably all tweet at PlayStation and Naughty Dog or something to ask for it, because that's the only way we're going to get it. But yeah, who knows? Maybe that's happening, maybe not. I just hope it's going to be. But with that being said, I of course want to know your thoughts on the frame rate for Uncharted 4 in the comments. What do you think about this? Are you fine with the game being 30 frames in single player? And how important do you think it is that it would be 60 frames there, or for example in the multiplayer? And yeah, then with that being said, I'd like to thank you a lot for watching and hope to see you again next time.